Hello, my beautiful souls. Doris Victoria here, your soul activation coach. Thank you for being here with me today in this video. I want to talk about how I got over anxious attachment style. And I know there's a lot of information out there. I want to quickly summarize about what I felt, what I have been going through, and hopefully it helps you to find out if you relate, that maybe there is some inner work that you're invited to do as well. And actually the only inner work we ever have to do is to remember that every single one of us is a beautiful, magnificent, brilliant, talented, amazing human being, amazing extension of source energy here on earth. And so as we are all these wonderful, powerful, mighty beings that are being born before we get conditioned, that's what we need to remember. Remember that sense of being loved, deserving love just because you are. I feel like this is getting more and more important these days as the solar flares are going on and the kind of like the energetic patterns on earth kind of like really urging us to raise consciousness, to let go what no longer serves us and to become what we truly are. And what we are is love, is light, is joy, is bliss. So this is, long story short, this is why I wanted to connect with you today, talking to you about how I overcame the anxious attachment style. So for those of you who are not familiar, anxiously attached people, this is an insecure attachment style, which is oftentimes not love, but it is a sort of codependence. It starts early in your childhood. As I said, we're being born as these amazing human beings. Like babies, we cry for our needs, we speak up for ourselves by crying, we let people hear our voice. And then early in your childhood, it might start that your primary caregivers, whoever is around you, starts hushing you or starts abusing you or whatever, kind of like making you being quiet because you're maybe too loud or you were too intense or you were too I don't know what. So this is where the conditioning starts. And then of course those parents who have not healed themselves, who are not even aware that there is something to heal. Sorry, I was speaking without my microphone. I hope you're hearing me better now. Anyway, so those parents who have not done the inner work, they start projecting their own limitations onto their children. So in my case, it was my primary caregiver was very, very afraid to show emotions, to be close to emotions. Whenever emotions were not present, that's when my primary caregiver felt really comfortable. For me, however, I defined myself. I know that by definition, human being stands for feeling being. We are all feeling beings. Even animals are, plants are. Everything feels, And I have done this amazing retreat years ago that was actually measuring the energy around either a crystal or a plant or an animal or a human being based on the appreciation that this being was shown from the outside world. So it can either shrink your energy when you're being, like for me, for example, I was always responsible for anything. If anything didn't work out or if anything broke or if there was a spot on the carpet or whatever, it was always my fault. Even though I wasn't even in the picture, I wasn't even there, it was always blamed on me. And when I asked my primary caregiver, I was asking one day, did your parents treat you that way? And then that primary caregiver said, yes, but this has nothing to do with it. So this is what I call someone who does not want to work on themselves, someone who is absolutely rejecting to do any kind of inner work. And this is kind of difficult to deal with because, you as a child, you feel like you're right. You have a right to talk about your emotions. You have a right to talk about when something is hurting you. But then this primary caregiver or the people that you depend upon when you were little, because we literally depend physically upon people for our very survival, when you're not being heard, then of course there's all these doubts about you not being good enough or you don't deserve being heard. Or we all kind of create our own limited beliefs based on the treatment of the outside world. So I want to share 2 stories of my childhood, or maybe just one, so that we have time of telling you how I got over that. So one of the things that happened and that kind of took away my belief that the world was good and that the world was friendly, that was really an important thing that happened for me, as we say. Nothing happens to you, everything happens for you. So when I was little, I was very afraid of darkness, and I was laying in bed one night, and I was always using earplugs. I don't know, I was 7, 8 years old maybe, and I was about to fall asleep. It was late in the evening, and suddenly I felt a presence. As I said, I was extremely afraid of the darkness when I was little. So suddenly I felt a presence in the room, and I felt like I heard the door opening. And I wasn't sure. And then I turned around, I opened my eyes, I turned around, and I saw a shadow, like a dark shadow. And then I was like already in shock because I saw this shadow, and I took my earplugs out. And then I heard someone whispering. And it freaked me out so much that I was starting to scream in panic. I was panicking back then. I was screaming. But screaming out of panic in the middle of the night, like, you know. So suddenly I remember the light turned on. It was my mother who came into my room. She came to me, slapped me, was giving me a hard time for screaming and waking everyone up. And then she left the room, slammed the door behind herself, and basically left me to cry myself back to sleep. So that was an experience that was really, really shaping my sense of the world. Today, I know it's not true. You know, Albert Einstein once said, the most important decision that you can make in your life is to decide if the world is friendly or hostile. So back then, because of that behavior, like whenever I needed emotional support, I was being left alone, even though if it wasn't my fault. And the other thing was that this primary caregiver of mine would never apologize for any of their mistakes. Never, ever would they apologize. So in a way, I got the feeling I was responsible for their behavior towards me. And then later in life, I realized, wait a moment, it had never, ever anything to do with me. This person was simply afraid of getting close to her emotions or his emotions because they haven't done the inner work about it. But this is not going to define who I am going to be. And I am a sovereign human being that has everything inside of me to heal myself. So I started creating boundaries. I started speaking up for my needs. Not in a way that I was begging others, why don't you do this? You know, I was like, you know what? It would really bring me pleasure if you would do this. I would really appreciate if you would do this. You know, speak up for your needs. And the most important thing also is approve. Start approving of yourself. Do the mirror work. Get yourself naked in front of your mirror every morning after waking up, like when your hair is all crazy and you're not dressed up and, you know, you're not whatever, bad breath. Just get yourself in front of the mirror and look at yourself and look at your left eye, because the left eye represents our inner child. Look at that left eye and tell yourself, you know what? To me, you're good enough. You are amazing. To me, you're magnificent. And I'm never, ever going to let you down. That's something that I learned in my life. I got myself. I didn't even need anything outside of myself. I got myself. And then when you feel that, when you truly feel like you got yourself, you got your own back, that's when you will find emotional support from new connections that you're doing to people. And you might even find the romantic partner that is not afraid of emotional intimacy. In the end, this is what we're all craving, emotional intimacy. So I hope this was helping you, beloved being. Let me know if you want me to touch upon a certain point, if you want me to go deeper about steps of how do we get out of these insecure attachment styles. In my case, it was anxious attachment style. This is where I'm an expert in. I have gotten out of that. And I'm still triggered some days. I'm still triggered in a way like, you know, there's some part of me, like the old self, kind of coming up like an on around, like an old pain, an old something feels off in my body. But I immediately realize, wait, is this the old me or is this the new me that is sovereign, that is authentic, that is autonomous. So anyway, let me know in the comments below if you need me to, if you want me to talk more about this. I would be happy to. Lots of love to all of you, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Bye for today.